There is a truth very few people say out loud. Many people love Shih Tzus, but slowly feel drained living with them long term. Not because Shih Tzus are bad dogs, not because they are difficult to raise, but because they are nothing like what most people expect. You see a small, calm, gentle dog that looks incapable of causing trouble. You assume this breed will fit neatly into your life without changing much? I thought the same. And so did many longtime Shih Tzu owners before me. Until one day you realize the Shih Tzus do not disrupt your life with chaos. They reshape it quietly, piece by piece, until you cannot tell whether the exhaustion comes from the dog or from having misunderstood the breed from the beginning. This video is not for people looking for cute dog content. It is for those who want to understand what kind of relationship they are truly entering when they choose a Shih Tzu. Part 1. Shih Tzus do not just live with you. They live according to you. If you live with a Shih Tzu long enough, you notice something unusual. They do not need constant play, but they need to know where you are. Shih Tzus are not dogs that chase balls, guard homes, or invent tasks for themselves. They were bred for one purpose, only to exist beside humans, and not passively, but attentively. You move from one room to another. The Shih Tzu follows, quietly. You sit down. They choose a spot nearby, not always touching. You close a door. They stop outside it, not barking, just waiting. Many people label this as clingy or dependent. But for a Shih Tzu, this is how the world makes sense. They do not need wide spaces, but they need a clear center. And very often, that center is you. Their imperial origins are not just historical trivia. Shih Tzus were bred to live in enclosed, calm environments where human presence was constant. They were never taught emotional self-sufficiency. They were taught to regulate themselves through human proximity. The problem begins when modern life loses rhythm. You come home late. Your routine shifts daily. Some days you are warm and present. Other days distant and overwhelmed. Many breeds handle this well. Shih Tzus feel it deeply. They do not rebel. They do not destroy your home. They simply watch more closely, wait more carefully, and pull inward slightly each time your rhythm becomes unpredictable. When owners fail to understand this, frustration follows. Why does this dog always seem in the way? The truth is simpler. The Shih Tzu is trying to live the way it was designed to live. Before asking whether a Shih Tzu is right for you, you need to understand this first. The breed is not difficult, but it asks for a type of presence many people are no longer used to giving. And in the next part, we will talk about the real cost of that presence. The part of Shih Tzu ownership that quietly changes your sense of freedom without ever asking permission. Part 2. The hidden cost of always being the center. This is the part most people do not anticipate, because it does not arrive as a problem. It arrives as an adjustment, slowly, almost politely. A Shih Tzu begins to organize your daily life around itself, not through demands, but through expectation. A Shih Tzu does not ask for attention the way louder breeds do. There is no constant barking, no destruction meant to punish you for leaving. Instead, there is a quiet assumption that you will be there, that you will return, that your presence is the stable point around which everything else turns. And once that assumption is established, it becomes very hard to undo. You start noticing it in small ways. Leaving the house takes a bit longer because there is a look you feel obligated to acknowledge. Coming home carries weight because the dog has been waiting in stillness rather than distraction. Even moments meant for yourself begin to feel shared because the Shih Tzu is always nearby, always aware. This is where some owners feel an unexpected loss of freedom. Not dramatic freedom. Not the kind that sparks rebellion, but quiet freedom. The freedom to be inconsistent, to disappear for a few hours without thinking, to shut down emotionally without being observed. Shih Tzus notice emotional absence as clearly as physical absence. When your attention comes and goes without rhythm, The dog compensates by staying alert, watching you more closely, following you more often, not because it wants more affection, but because it is trying to predict stability. Many owners respond by overcompensating. Extra cuddles, emotional goodbyes, guilty reunions. Unfortunately, this often increases the pressure instead of relieving it. For a Shih Tzu, intensity does not replace consistency, it disrupts it. Over time, owners may begin to feel that the dog is too dependent, when in reality the relationship has simply become unbalanced. The Shih Tzu has taken on the role of emotional regulator because no steady pattern exists to rely on. The shift happens when owners stop trying to manage the dog's feelings and instead manage their own rhythms. Calm departures, neutral returns, predictable routines, clear boundaries that do not change based on mood. When that happens, something surprising occurs. The Shih Tzu relaxes, the watching softens, the following decreases. Independence grows, not because it was demanded, but because safety was restored. This is the hidden cost of being the center of a Shih Tzu's world. It requires steadiness more than sacrifice. And when owners understand that difference, living with this breed becomes far less heavy and far more sustainable. Part 3: Why Shih Tzus rarely act out, but still carry stress. One of the most misunderstood things about Shih Tzus is how they express discomfort. Many owners believe their dog is fine simply because nothing dramatic happens. The house stays intact. The neighbors never complain. There is no chaos to manage. And yet, something slowly feels off. Shih Tzus are not expressive in the way high-energy breeds are. They do not explode when overwhelmed. They compress. Stress does not spill outward. It settles inward. This makes their distress easy to overlook and hard to address. Instead of barking excessively or destroying furniture, a Shih Tzu may wait by doors for long stretches. They may sleep lightly, waking at every sound. They may lick their paws repetitively, lose interest in food, or become unusually still. None of these behaviors feel urgent. Together, they tell a quiet story of tension. This subtle stress often comes from prolonged emotional uncertainty, irregular schedules, unclear boundaries, attention that arrives in bursts and disappears without warning. Shih Tzus are excellent observers. And when patterns become unpredictable, they stay alert as a form of self-protection. Owners sometimes misinterpret this vigilance as devotion. The constant watching can look like loyalty. The waiting can feel touching. But what the dog is doing is not bonding more deeply. It is compensating for instability. Over time, this state becomes exhausting for the dog. The cost may appear later as health issues, behavioral withdrawal, or increased sensitivity. By the time owners notice, the stress has already become part of the dog's baseline. The key difference with Shih Tzus is not how strongly they feel, but how quietly they carry it. They do not demand change. They endure. Understanding this shifts how you read their behavior. Calm does not always mean relaxed. Silence does not always mean contentment. With Shih Tzus, the absence of noise often means the dog has learned to hold itself together. And when you recognize that, you stop waiting for problems to appear and start paying attention to the small signals that have been there all along. Part 4: The myth of easy Shih Tzu ownership. By the time most people reach this stage, a quiet realization begins to form. Shih Tzus are often described as low maintenance because they are small, calm, and gentle. In reality, they are not low maintenance at all. They are simply low drama. Shih Tzus do not create problems that demand immediate action. They create patterns that demand long-term attention. And this is where many owners feel confused. Nothing feels urgent, yet something feels heavy. The work of living with a Shih Tzu is repetitive. Grooming does not happen once. It happens every day in small ways. Cleaning eyes, checking ears, managing coat, watching breathing on warm days, adjusting walks based on weather and energy. None of these tasks are difficult on their own. Together, they create a constant background of care, Training follows the same pattern. Shih Tzus are intelligent, but not eager to please in the traditional sense. They respond best to calm consistency, not pressure. Progress is slow, sometimes uneven. Setbacks happen without clear cause. Owners who expect linear improvement often feel discouraged, even though the dog is not failing. Health monitoring is another quiet demand. Short faces mean heat sensitivity and breathing concerns. Prominent eyes mean vigilance against irritation. Small jaws mean dental care matters more than many expect. These are not emergencies. They are responsibilities that do not pause. Because none of this feels dramatic. Many owners underestimate it. They assume they are doing something wrong when fatigue sets in. The truth is simpler. The breed requires steady care rather than intense effort. Shih Tzus are easy only for people who accept repetition without resentment. For those who do, care becomes routine. For those who do not, every small task feels heavier than it should. Understanding this reframes ownership. The challenge is not difficulty. It is endurance. And once you see that clearly, the relationship stops feeling misleading and starts feeling honest. Part 5. Who Shih Tzus are actually right for after everything settles. After the routines form and the realities become clear, one question remains more important than all the others: who is this breed truly meant for Shih Tzus are not a compromise breed. They are not a safe middle option. They are deeply specific. They fit beautifully into certain lives and quietly exhaust others, even when love is present. A Shih Tzu belongs with someone who values steadiness over excitement, someone who does not need constant novelty, who does not resent routine, and who understands that care given daily in small ways matters more than occasional bursts of effort. They suit people who are emotionally consistent, not perfect, but predictable enough to be readable. They are ideal for those who enjoy shared space without constant interaction. Someone who is comfortable being observed without feeling intruded upon. Someone who does not need long periods of emotional distance to reset. In those homes, Shih Tzus flourish almost effortlessly. They struggle with owners who crave spontaneity, long absences, or emotional withdrawal. Not because the dog is fragile, but because the relationship becomes unbalanced. The dog compensates for inconsistency by becoming more watchful, more attached, more inward. Over time, that dynamic drains both sides. Many people blame themselves or the breed when this happens. In reality, it is often a mismatch of expectations rather than failure. Shih Tzus are often discussed in terms of pros and cons, as if they were a list to be weighed. That framing misses something essential. What this breed asks for is not effort, energy, or skill. It asks for rhythm. When your life has rhythm, Shih Tzus settle. When your presence is steady, they soften. When care becomes routine instead of obligation, they thrive. They do not need to be managed. They need to be understood. For the right person, a Shih Tzu does not feel like responsibility. It feels like quiet companionship that adapts to your pace and reflects your inner state back to you. And for those people, the question is, never should I get a Shih Tzu. It becomes, why did this ever feel like a downside at all?